All right, so today we're diving into something a little different. It's a public letter aimed right at CEOs and top executives. But get this, it doesn't kick off with market forecasts or, the usual leadership jargon. Nope, it starts with a nightmare. It's this really intense warning about what the author calls an integrity crisis, a time when secrets just don't stay secret, and the fallout can be absolutely devastating.
And I mean, the author wastes zero time on formalities. It just jumps right in with this incredibly specific, super dramatic vision. It sets this urgent, almost prophetic tone right from the get-go. So this isn't going to be some abstract warning about market trends. This is raw, and it's grounded in a really personal, vivid nightmare.
Okay, so you're probably wondering what exactly happens in this governor's nightmare. Let's break it down.
The dream basically unfolds in three parts. First, you have this encounter that seems, built on trust, but that trust just gets completely shattered, and the whole situation flips into this high-stakes blackmail plot. And the final act? It's a devastating threat, the kind that ends careers. We're talking pictures, videos, the whole thing getting leaked, leading to just total ruin.
And right after describing that dream, the author pulls the camera back, you could say. They make it super clear that this isn't just about one politician's potential downfall. No, this is meant as a warning for every single leader out there.
So this is where you see the author's big move. They take this very specific vision, one person's crisis, and they blow it up into a universal threat. The dream suddenly becomes this powerful metaphor for a much, much bigger danger that's facing anyone in a position of power.
And this right here is the heart of the warning. The author's point is that we're way past the days of just isolated scandals. They're arguing we're stepping into a whole new era where, let's be honest, secrecy is basically an illusion. The idea is that whatever you do in private, it's gonna come out. Eventually. Okay, so a widespread cleansing. That's a pretty bold claim, right? So what's the evidence? Well, the author points to a specific trend they say is already happening. This quote is really the cornerstone of their whole argument. When they talk about the house of God, they're saying this wave of exposure isn't just coming, it's already here. And it started in a place you might not expect, within religious institutions.
So here's the logic, let's break it down. Step 1. The author sees this pattern starting in one really influential area, a wave of exposures and scandals among religious leaders. Step 2, they predict this cleansing is going to spread like wildfire. It's going to move from there right into the worlds of politics and big business.
And we're not just talking about hypotheticals here. To show just how high the stakes are, the author shares this pretty shocking real-world story from the corporate world. So first, just picture the absolute peak of success. The author talks about an executive director they know personally. This person is pulling in hundreds of millions of naira a year. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, plus all the bonuses, all the perks. This is the grace part of that from grace to grass saying. And then, the fall. It's catastrophic. Despite all that incredible success, just one single recorded incident was enough to bring it all crashing down. The letter is super blunt about it. One mistake, and his entire career was just consumed. The author really sums up this risk with a powerful phrase. They argue that this kind of indiscretion isn't just a little misstep, it's literally one of the fastest ways to lose absolutely everything. The fall from grace to grass, it's swift, and it is total.
And this brings us right back to where we started, to that initial nightmare. It just hammers home the core idea. For a powerful leader, a whole career can be completely wiped out by one simple piece of evidence. All those years of hard work, they just can't stand up to the brutal simplicity of being exposed. It really is that simple.
So after laying out the warning, the evidence, and these just catastrophic stakes, the author doesn't just leave you hanging in despair. No, they finish up with a very direct, very urgent prescription for how to actually survive this new era.
And the advice is pretty straightforward, rooted in some traditional values. Leaders are urged to ground themselves in things like faith and basic decency, to honor their commitments to their families, and this is a big one, to just stop making excuses for actions they know are destructive. What's really interesting is that the author adds a personal note here. They actually admit, hey, I used to fall into this trap myself. So by sharing their own struggles, they're framing this whole warning not as some high-end mighty judgment, but more like a tough lesson learned from someone who gets the temptation firsthand. So, all of this leads us to one final, really provocative question. In a world where a single smartphone can basically erase decades of work, has personal integrity become more than just a nice-to-have virtue? Is it now, maybe, the ultimate form of career insurance? That's a huge question for any leader in any field to think about.